thoughts about the situation we are in, not only in South Africa, but obviously internationally. And I think, I've been thinking about words like COVID. I didn't even know about a word pre the pandemic, that a word like COVID existed. I didn't even know that we'd come up with anti-vaxxers. And then issues around vaccination, words like vaccination, words like vaccine resistance. I've never ever heard of people like Professor Abdul Karim, and didn't pay much attention to epidemiologists and their role in our health and well-being, the world's health and well-being. And I guess I was also thinking about every year without fail, Oxford Dictionary comes up with the top word of the year. And so I was looking into that, and I see that COVID was the top word of the year 2020, which was obviously last year. This is according to the Global Language Monitor. They are an American data research company that tracks trends in worldwide use of the English language. And I guess it's a no-brainer when we think about or wonder what will be the most used word for the year 2021. And according to the Oxford English Dictionary, it is the word vax, shortened for, obviously it's abbreviated, it actually means vaccination. And I think those kind of words, coronavirus, beta, alpha, and all of these words that has come about because of the pandemic is going to stay with us and live with us for a very, very long time. So I guess we need to get used to those words. Some people even cringe when the topic comes up or the words are used. But there you have it, some possibly not very useful facts, but good to know, nice to know. These are the words all around the world. It doesn't matter what language you speak, COVID, vaccinations, those words are the most recognizable and the most used words in the English language. Get used to it. That being said, let's see what we have lined up for you on the show this morning, and undoubtedly in the coming days and in the coming weeks, once we get a fuller picture, a fuller understanding about the Omicron variant, we kind of hopefully start getting on with our lives and not refer so very much to all of these words. I don't know, the situation may or may not change. That also means that in the coming days, in the coming weeks, we are still going to be continuing our discussions on the pandemic, on COVID-19, on vaccinations, on the new variant, and on future new variants. So let's get used to it. I guess we're used to it already, aren't we? We've just taken it in our strides, being the strong-willed people we are, and moving on, inshallah, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of manners. Okay, on the show today, Galliver, regarding the devastating travel bans, the implications on us as South Africans. Also on the show, we're going to be looking at the issue around, there comes the word again, vaccinations, and should they be made mandatory. We'll talk with Professor Mosa Moshabela. Aneli Mda, public speaker and gender and social activist, will be talking to us about the 16 days of activism. And obviously, again, for the next so many days, we'll keep on drilling down on these issues, hopefully that it will get through to certain people, hopefully the larger population of abusers and behaviors start changing. Then we'll be looking at a solidarity with Palestinian people, and this interview will be Deputy Minister of International Relations, Alvin Puertas, and then Imam Nama Shuaib, a Nigerian-based journalist, is going to be talking to us about the atrocities by the Nigerian army. Last but not least, another issue that just absolutely, I don't even know, angers me beyond words, and that is the issue around the petrol price. Brace yourself, good people. We're in for a very steep hike starting tomorrow. And the other bit of not so good news is that there is another petrol price hike in December. So if you're planning on going on holiday by car, you need to plan very, very carefully, because a lot of your money is going to be eaten up by the petrol price hikes. 17 out of 8, after 8 o'clock, you're with me, Julie Ali. This is News and Views right here on our media. Please be part of the conversation. You can call us on our WhatsApp line 061 0355 or connect with us via our other social media platforms. Waiting to hear from you, and I'm also looking forward to your company over the next 2 hours. Right now, we're going for an ad break.
Little bare feet on the icy wet ground, a shiver at his lips, mud on his clothes. When he is cold, the hunger is worse, the nights are longer, and the pain is more severe. What if this was your child? The Al-Imdad Foundation's Global Winter Appeal allows you to make a difference for refugees, IDPs, and struggling communities in 21 countries globally. Sponsor a winter pack today for just 600 Rand. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243.
Looking to get your kick? Kiki's have now reopened on 235 Matthews Maiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the Taste with Kick.
Thousands of Syrian Palestinian refugees and Lebanese children do not have access to education. Aman means safety and is a school that provides formal education from kindergarten to grade 9. Africa Muslims Agency aims to provide 650 children with education that will change the trajectory of their lives and their families' lives. Fulfill your intention by fulfilling their dreams. Donate 16,000 Rand per child or any amount. Go to africamuslimsagency.co.za or call us on 011-834-8685. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
These days, I'm more health conscious than ever. So tonight it's stir fry for dinner, cooked in healthy Helios pure sunflower cooking oil. Helios is pure sunflower goodness, packed with omega-6. That's good for your heart and is approved as part of the Heart and Stroke Foundation eating plan. Dinner's ready! Helios, pure sunflower cooking oil. A healthy family is a happy one.
Every 60 seconds, a silent pandemic claims the life of a child. Unsafe water is having a devastating global impact on health and livelihoods. Islamic Relief is at the forefront, providing clean and safe water to vulnerable communities around the world. Our tailored approach to sustainable water solutions enable families not just to survive, but to thrive, ensuring they stay healthy and safe. Give water, give life with Islamic Relief.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education, from books to files to rulers. In fact, any any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
The time is exactly 8:22 a.m. Welcome to the program. This is News and Views right here on Salam Media. Our first interview for the morning is with Bernadine Galliver. She is the Associate Director from BDO Specialist Tourism Consulting Unit to talk to us about something really very important and the impact it's going to be having on our economy. I hope and pray that in another week or two's time, we can open up our borders, travel bans will be restricted, and the economy can start reviving. But let's hear what Bernadine has to say. We, as South Africans, are devastated over the travel ban. We also know that lots of South Africans have been left stranded abroad. So what is the hope of them coming home soon, possibly to spend the festive with their loved ones and pick up from where they left off before they went abroad for whatever reason? Bernadine, morning, welcome to the program.
Morning, Julie. Thank you so much for having me on your show this morning.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for your valuable time. So we're sitting with what I would call a double whammy. We're sitting with a new variant, which we're having to deal with that. And on top of that, there's possibly going to be a huge impact on the economy because a lot of countries have placed us on the red list. Where and how do we navigate ourselves out of the travel ban?
Well, Julie, and unfortunately, this is not the first time this year that we've had to experience this. I think that the industry was extremely hopeful about how things were starting to look up from December, as the travel bans from the UK, for example, were lifted in October. And unfortunately, we're now back in crisis mode because of these travel bans. So, navigating our way out of it, one is the industry moved extremely quickly to try and understand the tourism economy. There were some surveys that were done very quickly within the industry, and the associations have put out figures saying that at least R1 billion worth of bookings for between December and March of next year have already been lost.
Sure.
So it's important that we recognize that these are very big numbers we're talking about. It's more devastating for the industry because there was this hope of a light at the end of the tunnel of recovery, and now they've been taken away from us. And in literally 24 hours, these bookings were lost. So the way to navigate out of it is for the industry to work very closely with our national government. I think what we learned from the travel bans that were previously implemented by the UK, as an example, is that as an industry, we cannot do these things on our own. Lobbying on our own as the tourism sector and trying to convince governments overseas that they need to lift these bans and to talk to them about the impacts they have on our economy, we have to work very closely with national government. And I've seen that happening over the last few days. You could see on all the groups that the Minister of Tourism was highly involved. Everybody was working together, trying to just understand so we can then figure out our lobbying strategy, because that's what we need at the moment.
Okay, so we do know there is talk about British Airways and Virgin Atlantic resuming flights as of tomorrow to and from South Africa. But obviously there are certain restrictions put in place there as well. And you kind of wonder, why was there turnaround? Initially, they created the mayhem. They took the first step internationally to put South Africa on the red list, and thereafter other countries followed suit. They're now instituting this light, restriction, so to speak. Does that come with some sort of a condition? For example, you're still allowed to fly in and out, but there is some sort of quarantine period that you have to observe. Do you know anything more about that?
Yes, my understanding is they are still putting in place mandatory quarantines. Now, the trouble is that it acts as a barrier for people to travel. So if we ignore outbound travel from South Africa and we think just about the tourists who are possibly wanting to come into South Africa, one, it creates a huge burden on them when they try and go back into the UK, that they've now got to try and find the time to sit in quarantine. So if you haven't planned for that, you're already looking at your trip and saying, well, I actually can't afford to take that additional time to be sitting in a hotel for 7 to 10 days. I'm not allowed out of that hotel. I'm not allowed to resume my normal life. So there's the time impact. And secondly, there's the cost impact. So if I recall from when we had quarantine previously, we were talking, I think it was somewhere between £1,500 and £2,000 per person, in that sort of range. So if you haven't already budgeted for that and now you'd already planned your trip to come out here, where are you going to find an additional £2,000? And that's a lot of money for people. And so all we're doing, or they are doing, unfortunately, is applying travel barriers. And so unfortunately what people do is they look at their trip and they say, you know what, I'd rather go to a country that doesn't have these barriers in place. It's not going to cost me so much money, and I'll rather go somewhere else. So it's not going to solve the problem, unfortunately. I see the US has not put in place quarantines, but they have issued travel advisories saying that you shouldn't really travel to South Africa. But they've done this before during COVID, and we've seen a lot of US travelers coming into the country nonetheless. So I think for them, if they're willing to take the risk and they can also look at the data, if they can look at the data and decide for themselves that actually it's safe to come here, then we may see some of the US market coming. But I think the biggest negative impact is going to be on the European market.
And to talk directly to the issue that you raised about costs, the Todd family, South African family, that have spent some time in France because the husband is a lecturer at Stellenbosch Business School. He was teaching a course on climate economics in France. They are now having to come back home, but it means they have to fork out an additional 33,000 Rand to book a flight with another airline because Emirates has cancelled their flights. So this is the type of cost implications we're talking about. And this wasn't even a holiday. This was for work purposes.
Yes. No, it's definitely not good for people's pockets, unfortunately. And I mean, if you were looking yesterday watching the news, I was horrified watching the news, just seeing how many international travelers are currently in South Africa. And unfortunately, they're now cutting their trips short. So they're trying to get out of the country. And you could see that they were being bumped off flights, one flight to the next flight to the next flight. And I would assume that there are cost implications for them. So beyond the cost as well, to the individual traveler, there's the lost money to the economy because people who were already here have now cut their trips very short, and so they're leaving and taking their money with them, whereas they would have meant that in the tourism industry. The other thing I think we need to consider here is what is the reputational risk for South Africa. So although we've put out the variant and our scientists are excellent in reporting on it, it's wonderful that we have such capabilities. But you also have to look at it from a tourism PR perspective. The chaos that's being caused by these cancellations, by these travel bans, also negatively impacts on our reputation as a destination. And again, this comes back to if a traveler feels negatively about a particular destination, they will simply choose somewhere else to go because that's the nature of competition in tourism. It's a free market. There are many different places that travelers can go to. And the harder you make it for people to come here, the more you will push them to other destinations. And we desperately need their tourism spend. I mean, we're talking about an industry that's worth, in direct spend, about 80 billion Rand a year, just from international tourist arrivals. So we can't afford as a country to actually lose that money.
Is it too late to put in some sort of recovery PR plan to get people back into the country? And I say this after a statement that was issued by the United Nations chief, which is Mr. Guterres. And I quote him, he says, "I'm now deeply concerned about the isolation of Southern African countries due to the new COVID-19 travel restrictions." He also goes on to say the people of Africa cannot be blamed for the immorally low level of vaccinations available in Africa, and they should not be penalized for identifying and sharing crucial science and health information with the world. Now, world leaders are commending the South African government and the South African Health Ministry for making this information available so that other countries can start identifying and start putting measures in place to protect their citizens. But we seem to be, we're being penalized for a very ethical action on our part.
We are indeed. And I think, look, I'm not privy to the information about what national government is doing from a PR point of view. But I would say that there needs to be some coordination and some strategy around PR. And when we do go public with these sorts of announcements, it has to be a joint effort and joint planning that happens between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Tourism, as an example, to say, one, we're going to be making a statement, just so there's a little bit of forewarning, because I think one of the tragedies of COVID for the tourism industry is a lot of the restrictions have been imposed at very short notice, so that makes it difficult for travelers as well as the industry to plan. And then two, if we're making announcements around new variants, etc., that the tourism industry is ready, that national government is ready to put the message out, because what you've seen on social media in the days that have followed since we made this announcement is there's a lot of posts where people are saying, you know, it's incorrect to start referring to this as the South African variant. We must stop doing that. So, you know, putting it on social media is one thing, but actually need a very coordinated strategy right from the top, where you've got different departments, you've got different sectors working together, so that we can put the right message out, so that we're not scaring people. Because we also use this word of fear-mongering. We've got to be careful of fear-mongering. Yes, there are risks with COVID. Yes, we understand the importance of talking about these variants and these risks, but there's a huge risk to our economy if the tourism industry collapses. And so we can't sacrifice one for the other. So if we work together, and I think we've learned some lessons about that in the last 2 years of COVID, of how do we start working better together so that we can put messages out about our country that are accurate and that also can address some of the concerns that people might have about coming here.
Okay, my final question. Is it too late in the day for some marketing and PR to start happening at the top, absolutely top government level, so that very positive messages go out to the rest of the world and we can get the tourists coming in?
No, I don't think it's ever too late. I think the one part is getting tourists here that can still access our country. So if travel bans haven't been instituted and flights are still going and people are still wanting to come for December, then we should absolutely be talking to those people in our communications and our marketing and saying, please, we are safe, you must come. And then for the countries that are closed, marketing the destination and saying you need to come is not going to help us because the destination is closed. So the bigger effort needs to be concentrated on actually opening up the travel and releasing the travel bans. And then also telling people, right, the travel bans are lifted, it's still safe, please, we really would like you to come and visit us and to carry on with your trip that you had already planned. So I definitely don't think it's too late. We're only a few days out of the announcement, and there's still time for changes to be implemented before the festive season.
Well, let's hope the powers that be puts their heads together and come up with a really dynamic PR marketing plan, and they're able to convince people that it is safe to come to the country. Please God, we need tourists and we need them badly in the country. Bernadine, lovely talking to you. Go well, and we are praying for a very positive outcome.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. 8:35 exactly, news and views right here on Salam Media. Still to come on the show, or rather next, Professor Musa Moshabela to talk about mandatory or compulsory vaccinations.